Physiology of digestion. Physiology of digestion that is completed by mechanical and chemical process. The first part of the alimentary canal or the digestive system, that is the buccal cavity. Mouth then follows to the buccal cavity. Buccal cavity that perform two functions. One is mastication of food and another one is facilitation of swallowing. Then teeth, tongue and saliva that helps in mastication and mix up the food particles. Then teeth that help to grind up the food particles. Then tongue helps in swallowing the food. Then another one is saliva. There are three different types of salivary glands are present. One is parotid gland. Second one is submandibular gland. Then another one is sublingual glands. These glands secrete saliva into the oral cavity or buccal cavity. Then saliva contain mucus, then electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, chloride, then bicarbonate ions and enzymes such as salivary amylase and lysozyme. Then these are the content of saliva: mucus, electrolytes such as sodium, potassium, chloride, then bicarbonate ion, then enzymes like salivary amylase and lysozyme. The salivary amylase act on the starch that is present in our food. Then it is hydrolyzed and form maltose at pH 6.8. That is the first step of digestion. Then at pH 6.8, the salivary amylase act on starch. Then it is converted into maltose. About 30% of the starch is hydrolyzed in the mouth itself. Then lysozyme. Lysozyme has antibacterial activity and is prevent infection. Then another one, mucus in saliva, that helps in lubricating and adhering the food particles into bolus. Then this bolus transported from the oral cavity to the pharynx, then to the esophagus. From the esophagus it goes to the stomach. So in the alimentary canal, a verb like contraction and relaxation of the muscle takes place, and this verb like movement is called peristaltic movement. Due to the peristaltic movement, the food particle, the bolus that move from the pharynx to the esophagus, then to the stomach. The food that move from the esophagus to the stomach. The movement of food that is from the esophagus to the stomach is regulated by a sphincter muscle present at the junction of the esophagus and stomach is known as gastroesophageal sphincter. Gastroesophageal sphincter, and this sphincter regulate the movement of food from the esophagus to the stomach. Then in the stomach, the food stored for 4 to 5 hours. Then the mucosa layer of the stomach that contain glands, and these glands contain three different types of cells. One is mucous neck cell which secrete mucus, peptic or chief cell which secrete pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is an inactive form of pepsin. Pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme. Then third type of cell, that is the parietal cell or oxyntic cell which secrete HCl, an intrinsic factor for the absorption of vitamin B12. So in the stomach, food mixes with the acidic gastric juice and form chyme. Then pepsinogen that is converted into active pepsin in the presence of HCl. In the presence of HCl, inactive pepsinogen that is converted into active pepsin, that is the protein digesting enzyme, proteolytic enzyme. Then in the presence of pepsin, protein is digested and form proteases and peptones. Then mucus and bicarbonate ions protect the stomach wall from the attack of HCl. Then what is the function of HCl? Role of acid in stomach. HCl provide acidic medium for the action of pepsin. Then another one, it kills the germs present in food. Then one important thing, it convert inactive pepsinogen to active pepsin. So these are the functions of acid in stomach. One is it provide acidic medium for the action of pepsin, that is pH 1.8. Then it kills the germs in food. Then third one, it convert inactive pepsinogen to active pepsin. In infants, Another proteolytic enzyme is present, that is renin, which helps in the digestion of milk protein. Then after that is partially digested food that move from the stomach to the first part of the small intestine, duodenum. As we know, the last part of the stomach, that is known as pyloric region, and this pyloric region that opens to the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. So this opening is guarded by a sphincter that is known as pyloric sphincter. So the movement of food from the stomach to the duodenum is guarded by pyloric sphincter. And movement of food that is regulated by pyloric sphincter, which is present at the junction of stomach and first part of the small intestine, duodenum. Liver and pancreas release their secretion into the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. The duct from the liver and the duct from the gallbladder that form a common duct, that is known as common bile duct, that unite with the duct from the pancreas and form a common duct, that is known as the hepatopancreatic duct. Through the hepatopancreatic duct, the secretion from the liver and pancreas reaches in the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. Then the liver secretes bile. That bile contains bile pigments like bilirubin, biliverdin, then bile salts, cholesterol, phospholipid, but enzymes are absent. Only bile pigments, bilirubin, biliverdin, then bile salts, cholesterol and phospholipids are present. Enzymes are absent. Then what is the function of bile? Bile helps in emulsification of fat. That means large fat globules are converted into smaller ones, and it activates lipase. It activates lipase that is secreted from the pancreas that present in the pancreatic juice. And it provides alkaline medium for the action of pancreatic enzymes. Then pancreas that secrete juice, that is known as the pancreatic juice, which contain different types of enzymes: trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, amylase, lipase and nucleases. Trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, amylase, lipase and nucleases. Trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen and procarboxypeptidase are inactive form of enzymes, and it is converted into active form in the presence of another enzyme, that is enterokinase, that is secreted by the intestinal mucosa. Intestinal mucosa secrete enzyme, that is enterokinase, and these enzymes convert trypsinogen to trypsin, chymotrypsinogen to chymotrypsin, and procarboxypeptidase to carboxypeptidase. These enzymes are proteolytic enzymes. That means it helps in the digestion of protein. Then amylase that helps in the digestion of starch. Only 30% of starch that is hydrolyzed in the mouth. Then lipase that helps in the digestion of lipid, and nucleases that helps in the digestion of nucleic acid. The glands present in the intestine is known as intestinal glands. Intestinal glands secrete a juice that is called intestinal juice or succus entericus. Intestinal juice or succus entericus. Then what are the components or enzymes present in intestinal juice? One is disaccharidases. Enzyme present in intestinal juice, disaccharidases, that convert disaccharide into monosaccharide. One example, maltase. Maltase convert maltose into glucose plus glucose. That is the simpler form. Another example for disaccharidase, lactase, that convert lactose to glucose plus galactose. Then another example, sucrose, that converts sucrose into glucose plus fructose. That's about disaccharidases. Then next one is the dipeptidase. Dipeptidase act on dipeptide, then it is converted into amino acid. Dipeptidases act on dipeptide, then it is converted into amino acid. Then another one, lipase. Lipase act on fat, then it is converted into diglyceride. Then again, in the presence of lipase, diglyceride is converted into monoglyceride. Then again, this monoglyceride is converted into fatty acid and glycerol in the presence of the same enzyme lipase. Then another one, nucleosidase, that act on the nucleic acid. In the presence of nucleotidase enzyme, nucleotides are converted into nucleoside. Then this nucleoside is converted into sugar plus base in the presence of nucleosidase enzyme. So simpler forms are formed. Then all these process takes place in the duodenum. Then after that, the next portion of the small intestine, jejunum and ileum, that helps in the absorption. Absorption of nutrients takes place in jejunum and ileum. Jejunum and ileum. Then after that, undigested waste particles that is released into the large intestine. The last part of the small intestine, that is the ileum, that opens to the large intestine by a valve that is known as ileocecal valve, that regulate the movement of undigested food particle to the large intestine. The main function in the large intestine, it helps in the absorption of water and mineral. It helps in the absorption of water and mineral. Then undigested and unabsorbed substance called feces, that is stored in the rectum. That is stored in the rectum till defecation. That's about the physiology of digestion. Thank you.